Hello crafty family, and welcome to another tutorial by She So CraftDee. For today's DIY projects, I have selected 10 of my favorite Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs to get you all inspired for Christmas crafting. Now this compilation will have step-by-step instructions for each project and also styling ideas that I have used for my space. Now all of these projects all have the printables as well as the information links for the supplies, so you can easily use it for reference as you gather up everything that you need. Now before we start, I have to say hey to all of my subscribers, and if you are a new visitor to my channel today, I hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and see all of the different ways that I'll show you how to style these in your space. So now let's jump right into the projects. Now this project is a set of frosted holiday lighted jars. Now here's my inspiration photo for this project today. Now I love this lighted mason jar design from Kirkland's, and I knew I could recreate it for a lot less. So I did think the Noel letters on here were very hard to see on their jars, so I'll be using solid letters to help my design stand out. So I headed to the Dollar Tree and I grabbed some supplies to make my vision come to life. Now I'm going to be needing 3 small mason jars from the Dollar Tree, some poster letters from the Dollar Tree, some Epsom Salt from the Dollar Tree, and some assorted greenery and twine. So what we're going to do is grab our mason jars, and we first want to remove all of the lids from the jars and make sure your jars are clean. Then go ahead and grab your poster letters, and since I have 3 jars, I wanted to spell out joy on my jars. So I'm removing the J-O-Y, and then I'm going to place them in the bottom center of each one of my jars. Now the J on my jar just looked like it wasn't complete, so I took a little comma from the poster letters, and I'm going to add that to the bottom of my J, and it just gives it that little curve that it was missing. And there you go, it looks complete now. So now what we're going to do is we are going to grab some Mod Podge, and you can get this from the Dollar Tree in smaller containers as well. And what we're going to do is we are going to start dabbing that Mod Podge on the jar all the way around the letter. Now you want to put a very generous coat of this Mod Podge on a jar. Now we're going to apply it in sections. And once you have a really good section, grab that Epsom salt, and you just want to sprinkle it on top of that thick layer of Mod Podge so it adheres to the Mod Podge, and just pat it in. And then we're going to apply another section of that Mod Podge to the jar and add more Epsom salt, and we want to do this all the way around our jars. Now here is one of the jars all covered in that Epsom salt and Mod Podge, and now you just want to do this for the O and the Y jars as well. And now here are all 3 of my jars all covered, and what you want to do is just kind of tap them on the table, shake off any excess Epsom salt, and let them completely dry. Now here are my jars all nice and dry and ready to go. Now to avoid any shedding of any Epsom salt on your jar, you want to go in with another coat of Mod Podge. Now I'm just taking a really fluffy paintbrush, and I'm just gonna just tap that Mod Podge all over the jars, including on top of the poster letter, just making sure that everything is nice and sealed in. Now you want to complete this all the way around the jars and for the 2 other jars. And here they are, just let them sit to completely dry. And here are my jars, they're nice and dry now, so now we can embellish them. So I'm going to grab all of my greenery and also my jute twine, and I'm just going to go ahead and start removing some of my greenery and preparing it to add it to my jars. But the first thing I'm going to do is take this jute twine, and I want to wrap the top of each one of my jars with the jute twine. Now I just wrapped it around a couple times and hot glued it into place. And then with the greenery, I have some sprigs of pine here, I have sprigs of cedar, and I have some little berry bundles that I had in my scrap bin. So I'm just going to group them together, a piece of each of them, just stacking them on top of each other. And once they look good, I'm going to go ahead and hot glue each one of them into place. Now I did fold down the top of that garland sprig because it was a little long. You want to fold it down really tight. So once everything is hot glued into place on that one, repeat it 2 more times so we have a total of 3 for all of our jars. Now I did want to have an accent on the top of my greenery bundle, so I'm taking some of this gingham buffalo check ribbon and I'm making 3 little bows out of it, and then I'm going to attach one of those bows to each one of my little berry bundles. Just add some hot glue right on top and place that right in the center. Then once all 3 are done, we can start adding them to the jars. Now I did notice that my bundle was kind of thick in the back when I folded it over, so I am going to cut that excess off so it would lay a little flatter against my jar. You can use a combination of scissors and wire clippers to do this. And then you're going to place it on the top of the jar on the jute twine wrapping. You want to place it to the side of the letter, just making sure you're not blocking that letter. Just hold it in place until that hot glue adheres, and this is what one of the jars will look like. Now you just repeat this for the remainder of your jars, and here they are. Now all you have to do is add a beautiful tea light to them to light them up. And oh my goodness, you guys, look at these. They turned out so amazing. Now I really love the option of using solid letters instead of just an outline like the Kirkland's jars, since it gives it a nice bold look. And you can add more jars to spell out any word that you like too. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. Now this project is a set of fabric Christmas trees. So you're going to start off with some fabric of your choice. And I'm going to need 3 tree slices, and these are sold at the Dollar Tree, and some 10-inch dowels from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to start off with my fabric piece, and this is actually a table runner that I got on clearance from Dollar General. So in order to make my tree, I took a piece of printer paper, folded it in half, and I'm just going to quickly sketch half of a tree. Just a really simple design on half of this printer paper as shown here. And then I'm going to cut it out, making sure that I cut it about 1/4 of an inch bigger than the actual tree. And then when you unfold it, you have this nice tree template that you could use for your trees. So I'm unfolding my table runner fabric piece, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to place it on there. So first of all, I'm going to make sure it's double folded, and then I'm going to place my tree template right on top. Now in order to keep it from slipping, I am going to pin it in place. You can use tape or whatever method that you prefer to use, but I just like pins. You know, I do so I have all these little things on hand. And then after it's pinned into place, I'm just going to roughly cut out the tree first from that big fabric piece, and then I'm going to trim it down precisely with my scissors, just making sure my cuts are nice and straight and even. So here's my tree all cut out, and when you unpin it, you'll see you'll have 2 layers, so you'll have 2 different pieces for your tree. And I'm going to repeat this 2 more times. Now I did cut out some extras for other projects, but I wanted a variety to choose from for my project, so I chose these 3 pieces here for my tree. Now I did also want to use a different contrasting fabric for the back, so I have this red and white polka dot that I had on hand, and that will be the back of my trees. Now I am going to be hot gluing these trees together with the good sides facing out, and this is just an easy way to do this. You could use hot glue, Fabri-Tac, you can even use a fabric hot glue if you want to, but I thought to keep this really easy, hot glue will work perfect since this is a craft project and you won't be running it through the washer or anything. So here's my tree all nice and glued together. You do want to make sure the bottom does stay open. And then I'm going to take some stuffing and just carefully stuff your tree. Now I like to buy those big body pillows from Walmart and use those for stuffing. They seem to be a little bit cheaper than buying polyfill, so that's what I use. So I just want to stuff the tree nice and tight, and then I'm going to add hot glue to the bottom on each side, making sure you leave about a 1-inch opening at the bottom and make sure those edges at the bottom are nice and even. And here is one of the stuffed trees. Now, as an option, I'm going to take my 2 other trees and I'm actually going to sew these together as an option, and I'm just sewing it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So if you do have a sewing machine, that would be pretty easy to do as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and stuff these, and here are all 3 of my stuffed trees ready to go. So now I'm going to take my dowels and I'm going to sharpen the end with a pencil sharpener. And once I get a nice good point, I'm able to insert it into the bottom of the tree, and I'm just going to wiggle it back and forth, working it through that stuffing of the tree until it gets all the way to the top and it's nice and snug inside that tree. Now here are all 3 trees with my dowels, and now you have that little opening at the bottom, and we could just close that up with a little hot glue. Just squeeze just a little into that opening, and once you get it in there, you just want to pinch the bottom to make sure it's nice and sealed. And now that everything is nice and sealed and ready to go, you can go ahead and trim down your trees. Now I wanted my trees to be 3 different heights. So for the 2 trees on the side, I am trimming them down about 1 inch. Now I'll be making adjustments as I go, but feel free to adjust the heights of your tree to your liking. So now we're going to take those little branch tree slices, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in the center of each one about 3/4 inch all the way through the stump, not through the back or the bottom. We just want to make sure we go 3/4 inch down on each one of them, and I'm using a drill bit the size of the dowel. Now at the last minute, I did decide I wanted to add some stain to my dowels. Now you could do this beforehand, but this was a last minute decision for me. I just love the way that the stain looks on the dowel instead of the natural wood. So I stained them really quick, and then I'm going to test fit them into the little wood slice, and they fit perfect. Now I did decide to take another 3/4 inch off just to make sure they fit just the way I wanted to, and this looks good. Now you really don't have to add no glue to these stumps, but I am for mine since I wanted it to be a permanent fixture on my trees. So I add a little hot glue into that drill hole and then place each one of the trees in each one of the holders, and that is it for this project. Now as a final touch, I added a bow on each tree, and now they're ready for display. Now I just love the festive colors in these trees, and they're really easy to make whether you choose to glue or sew them together. It is really all up to you. And these little branch slices were the perfect base for these too. Now I really do hope that you give this tree project a try. Now this project is a holiday season decorative sign. Now we're going to need a pack of these bell containers from the Dollar Tree. We're also going to need one of these wood boards from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to need some poster letters from the Dollar Tree. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do with this is we're going to remove all of our bells from the packaging. Now these bells come in 2 pieces, so go ahead and separate them into the 2 pieces each. And then when they're separated, I am going to take them out and give them a couple coats of this satin white spray paint by Krylon, or you can use acrylic paint or chalk paint if you like. Now while those are drying, I'm going to take my board and I'm first going to trim off the pumpkin on this because I will not use that in my sign. So I'm just going to use my ruler and I'm going to draw a very straight line underneath that pumpkin, and then use my Dollar Tree utility knife just to score it 2 or 3 times, and it will just snap right off. Okay, so our board is nice and ready, and now our bells are dry. So I'm going to grab up 6 of those bells that we painted. Now on my bells, I wanted it to say season. So I'm just going to gather up my poster letters and place them on each one of the bells. Now the great thing about the size of these bells is that the poster letters fit on here perfectly with no adjusting. So I'm just going to spell out the word season on my bells, and here it is all ready to go. So now season will be across the bottom of my sign, so I'm just going to place it along the bottom and kind of space them out evenly. Now at the very top, I wanted to have "'Tis the," so it'll say "'Tis the season." So I'm gathering up all of my letters first, placing them on my board, and then I'll work to get them all spaced. Now I kind of wanted my season to be hanging as a swag on my sign. So now that I've got my season laid out just like I want to, I'm putting a generous squeeze of hot glue at the very top and bottom on the inside of the bell and placing it on the sign, and that glue will run down and make contact with the board and secure it in place. And you want to do this for all of your bell letters. And then you also want to follow up by putting your "'Tis the" at the top along with a little quote. Now to top off my bells, I just tied a bunch of little bows from that small buffalo check gingham ribbon, and I'm going to place one at the top of each one of the bells. Now you want to complete this for all of them, and here is what it will look like with all the little bows in place. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little greenery to it just to give it a little pop of color. And I'm using some pine pieces, and I'm going to be using some berry bunches. So I want to actually fit into the corners. So I'm going to place one across the top and one along the side, just hot gluing those in place. And once those are secured, I'm just going to add my little berry bundle to the center and hot glue that on as well. Then you're just going to repeat this for your other side, and this is what it looks like. Now I did have two little extra bows hanging out, so why not? Let's just add it to the corners there where the berries meet the corner there, and I'm just going to add those in. And there they are, nice and good to go. So once everything dries on the front, we're going to go ahead and flip it over, and I'm going to go ahead and add a hang string on here. And I'm just using an additional piece of that ribbon that I had on hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that each end of the ribbon is evenly spaced from the outside edge on each side. And here it is all attached. And then I'm just going to go ahead and follow up, of course, with my little squares of craft paper to cover up those ribbon ends. I just think that this gives the perfect final touch. It just elevates your project to another level of professionalism, and it's perfect if you want to resell your item. It just shows you gave it just a little bit more care. So now the back is nice and neat. We can go ahead and flip it over, and now we're ready to display our piece. And check it out. Now I am so in love with the way that this turned out. Now I'm always a fan of making worded signs, and I'm so happy to share that you can do this without any fancy cutting machines. Now this project is a decorative trimmed holiday planter box. Now we're going to need one square gift box from Dollar Tree in any print. And we're going to need a few tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to grab my mat and my ruler and my blocks. Now I'm just going to go ahead and grab 6 blocks out, and I'm going to kind of form this into a rectangular square shape as shown here. Now once we get our shape, we can go ahead and start gluing it together. Now I'm using my Surebonder wood stick hot glue, but you could use wood glue or regular glue for this project. This won't be structural, so you just want to use a glue that would hold them together. So I'm just going to add a dab of hot glue onto each piece, making sure you use that ruler for the most even edge. I can't express how important it is to use the ruler on the projects. It makes a world of difference. So now when that's made, you want to make 4 of those 6 block sets as shown here. So now we're going to take the box, remove that lid, and we want to adhere one of these block squares to the side of your box. Just add some of that hot glue along the back side of the square, and you want to center it on the side. Now this just provides a little accent to the side of the box, giving it a little bit more character. Now you just want to repeat this for all 4 sides. Now once that's done, I'm going to take it out and give it one nice coat of the Zinsser 123 primer. Now here's the box all nice and primed, and now I want to go in with a final coat, and I want to use chalk paint for this. Now you can use spray paint, but I chose to use chalk paint because it's a little thicker and it'll get into all those grooves and creases of the blocks and make it look like one solid piece. So you want to complete the entire outside, and then when that's done, you want to go in about 1.5 inches on the top edge of the inside of the box too. No need to paint the entire box because we will be putting a plant inside. So here's our box all nice and dry, and so now we are ready to decorate. Now I have this big bag of greenery. I actually picked this up from the thrift store, and I guess the person who had it must have been a crafter because all of the pieces in here had these little silver picks on the end as if they were making arrangements. So you can use some floral foam, and I'm just using some extra styrofoam I had from packaging left over. I'm repurposing that, and I have a bundle of those red berries from the Dollar Tree. So here are those pieces with those little picks on them. So I'm going to start by adding some of the pine pieces, and I'm just going to add one into each corner, and then I'm taking these frosted cedar leaves and I'm going to add those as well. Now the Dollar Tree does have a beautiful assortment of holiday greenery as well, so you can mix and blend how many pieces and how many styles that you like, and I just like blending them all together to make it nice and full. Now once the greenery is done, in the center I am placing some holly leaves just to fill out that center part. Now that the greenery is done, we're going to add our berries. So I'm taking that Dollar Tree berry bundle, I'm cutting those berries off, and what I want to do is I just want to stick those into the bundle, giving it a little accent, and you can see as soon as you add that pop of red, it looks so beautiful. I just love how these colors blend together. They look so amazing. Now this little bundle here looks so amazing for the holidays, but I wanted to add another accent. I wanted to add some of this gingham buffalo check style ribbon just to tie around it. Now this is definitely optional, but I just wanted to tie it into the other projects. It just looks so wonderful on holiday projects. I love how this looks. So I'm just going to tie it around the center and trim it off. And then there you go. You have a ribbon accent on your container, and now you can place it on display. And check it out, you guys. How gorgeous is this holiday arrangement? Now, I'm such a fan of these holiday colors, but you can certainly mix and blend it to your liking. And I do think the blend of the greens, the snowy sprigs, and the berries looks so great. And I love this block accent just to give it a little bit more character. Now you can style this for year-round use as well, so I hope you give this project a try. Now this project is a framed snowflake Christmas tree. We'll need 1 10-pack of these snowflakes from the Dollar Tree, some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, and some black foam board from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start off by removing all of our 10 snowflakes from our package, and we're going to go ahead and cut off all of those strings since we won't need them for this project. Now once all the strings are removed, we're going to take it out. I'm going to give it 2 coats of this satin bright white spray paint by Krylon, but you can use acrylic or chalk paint if you like. Now while those are drying, we are going to work on the frame. Now I always find it hard to find large frames at the Dollar Tree, so I love building my frames out of tumbling tower blocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay 8 blocks in a row here, and I'm going to start to glue them together end to end with some wood hot glue, or you can use acrylic wood glue or regular wood glue. It's all up to you for this project. You're just going to glue them end to end all the way down, making sure you wipe away that hot glue. And once you get 1 stick done, this is what it looks like. And we're going to repeat this until we have a total of 4. Now once we have all 4 sticks, we can start putting together our frame. And all we're going to do is we're going to sit them end to end and join them in an L shape, making sure you use that carpenter square to make sure that corner is nice and sharp. Just go ahead and add some hot glue there to the corner. You want to squeeze it for about 5 seconds until it bonds, and then flip it over and add a second one in the other corner. Now once you have 3 of the sides together, you just want to close in that bottom with that final 8 block set. just add some glue to each end of that one and then adjust it where it sits perfectly in place, making sure you hold it until it bonds. And here is our completed frame, and then let it sit to the glue and completely dries. Now once the glue is dry, we are ready to paint it. Now I'm going to be using some white chalk paint to paint mine, but you can certainly use some antique wax or stain or any color that you like. So what I like to do is start on the inside of the frame and then paint the outside of the frame first. And then once that's done, I'll go ahead and paint the surface of the frame. There's no need to paint the back of this frame for this project. And here it is all painted, and now I'll let it completely dry. Now once that frame is all dry, go ahead and grab your black foam board and your frame, and you want to situate it in the corner of your foam board and then trace the outline of the frame onto the foam board. Now once you have that outline, you want to take your ruler and a utility or an X-Acto knife and then cut along the lines that you marked with your pencil. Now what I also like to do is to trim off an additional 1/4 inch on 2 sides of the square, and this just makes that foam board sit just within the edges of the back of the frame so you can't see it from the front. So once you get that square cut out, sit your frame on top just to make sure the fit is nice, and here you go. You see that that foam board can't be seen from the front, so it's good to go. So now that that's all adjusted, we can just go around the back of the frame with a bead of that hot glue, and then we're going to place our foam board right on top, just making sure that it sits nice and even on the back of the frame. And we flip it over, and now we have our surface to start working with for our tree. So we're going to grab up those snowflakes, which should be nice and dry right now. Now for the first layer of our tree, we are going to take 4 of the snowflakes in a row. Now I'm starting my tree at the very bottom of my frame because I want to put a topper on, but if you didn't want a topper on it, you would start about 2 inches down up from the edge of the bottom of the tree. Now to glue these down, I'm only placing a dot of hot glue in the center of that snowflake just to avoid any glue mess that may be on the back. I find that this hides most of the glue when you do it this way, and just secure all 4 in a row at the bottom. The next row is going to be 3 snowflakes. We're just going to apply them right on top. And once they're glued down, we are going to join 2 snowflakes on top. And then finally, after that, we're going to put 1 snowflake on top of that, so it forms a pyramid, which looks like a really cute tree. So now you see we have enough space at the top to add a topper of your choice. Now for my topper on the tree, I decided to just bundle up some greenery and some berries that I had on hand, and I just tied them together at the top with a piece of jute twine. Now to top off that bundle, I did actually decide to add some black and white ribbon, some red and black ribbon on top that I picked up from Dollar General for $1. I just tied it into a bow, and I'm just going to place that right on top of my little bundle. I'm just going to hot glue that right at the top center and just making sure that that's placed nice and even. And then we're just going to tuck that ribbon down into the bundle. Now I did want some ribbon dangling down onto my tree, so I'm just going to cut 2 pieces that are a little bit longer than my tree, and I'm first going to glue 1 at the top just to make sure that it'll fit, and I'm just testing to see how that swirl action will happen there. So I'm just going to glue that top down, and then once I start working that swirl ribbon in and I know how it's going to look, I'm going to glue a second one on the other side, so I'll make sure I have enough for both pieces. So then I'm going to start to just kind of twist my ribbon around until I have some swirls. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bit of hot glue as I work my way down. And this is just to hold the shape of all of my swirls as I work my way down. Now you do want this to be loose so the loops of your swirls would stand out from the tree and they will look really cute when you're done. And then once you get down to the bottom, you just want to trim off any excess and then glue that tail right at the bottom. Now here's what one side will look like, and just repeat this on the other side, and here is what my 2 ribbon swirls will look like. So I'm trimming down the top of my berry bundle there just to make sure it's all nice and even. And then I'm going to hot glue it right at the top of my tree. Now I did decide to add a couple of clusters of pine cones, and I got these little mini pine cones from the Dollar Tree as well. And I'm just going to add those to the top as well just to give it a little bit more of a winter snowy effect. And here is what the tree will look like. And check it out, this is what the finished project looks like, and I think it turned out so cute. Now I love all the details in this piece, and working with the snowflakes really makes this tree stand out. Now you can top your tree with greenery, a star, or anything you like, and you can even add lights as well for a different effect. You all have to let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. I really hope that you all are enjoying these crafts so far, but I wanted to pop in really quick and let you all know that you could follow me on all of these platforms as She So CraftDee. So now let's jump right into that next DIY. Now this project is an ornament display sign. Now we're going to need a couple or one ornament of your choice, and I'm choosing these holiday houses from the Dollar Tree. And I'm also going to be using a bamboo cutting board from the Dollar Tree, or you can use a piece of wood or sign of your choice. We're also going to need some poster letters from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to first start with the bamboo board, and if yours comes in the plastic wrapping, go ahead and remove that, and we're going to start to work on our design. So at the bottom of my board, I wanted to put joy to keep into the festive holiday theme. So I'm grabbing some poster letters to spell out joy at the bottom of my sign, just making sure that when you place them, they're even along the bottom, and everything is spaced correctly. Now the J on these poster letters always just I don't know, it's kind of annoying to me, so I always take one of the commas and I add it to the bottom of the J, and it just gives it that extra oomph that just makes it perfect for me. So I always add the comma at the bottom of that J. So now we're going to add our ornament. Now in order to hold our ornament, I'm using these little clear peel and stick self-adhesive hooks that you get from the Dollar Tree. These are the really small ones, so they're perfect for this sign. And all you have to do is peel back the backing and center it at the top and just press it right in the center. And that is the perfect size to hold any kind of ornament you want to place on here. So all you have to do now is take an ornament of your choosing and adjust any hang strings that's on it to make sure that it will perfectly fit in the space that is allowed on your sign or your cutting board, and then trim that down. Now I'm just testing to make sure that the little loop will fit around the hook and everything fits perfectly and it's not blocking my wording. So just as a little accent, I'm adding another one of those buffalo check little bows to the very top to go with the theme of these DIYs. And then once that hot glue dries, all you have to do is to take your ornament and add that back on. And that is it, you guys. That is the project. So super cute. Now, to display it, all you would have to use is some of these Dollar Tree easels. I love using these easels to hold the signs. I didn't really want to hang this. I thought it would look perfect on an easel for on a shelf or a table. So I think this would be a perfect little item to place on these little easels from the Dollar Tree. And how simple was that? I mean, I just love quick and easy DIYs that the whole family can make. And now, even though it was easy, it was definitely not lacking style, since it can be completely interchanged. I mean, how fun would it be to switch out the ornaments all throughout the holiday season? You all have to let me know in the comments what special ornaments you would display on this piece. Now, this project is a decorative vase set with tray. So you're going to need one tray of your choice from the Dollar Tree and 3 of these white bottle vases from the Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to grab all three of my bottles, and I'm first going to remove the little charm and the ribbon around the top of the bottles. We won't be using those for this project. Now I did want to decorate the bottle, so what I'm going to be using is this vinyl from the Dollar Tree that comes in a buffalo check design. Now if you can't find this vinyl at your Dollar Tree, you can certainly use some scrapbook paper and hot glue to achieve this look as well. So I'm going to remove my vinyl from my package. I'm going to wrap it around the bottle so I'll be able to cut a length that's long enough to wrap around each one of my bottles, and then trim off that section of vinyl. Now I'm going to kind of straighten it out, and then I'm going to cut a piece that I want to wrap around. So I'm going to cut some vertical strips out of this vinyl and just kind of do a test measurement, and then cut 2 more pieces for the other bottles. And now all you have to do is peel away that vinyl from the backing and then carefully place it on your bottles. Just make sure it's nice and centered. And there you have it. Here's one of our bottles wrapped, and we're going to repeat this for the other 2 bottles. So now all 3 of those are done, and we are going to actually now move on to decorating the top. And I'm going to be using some of the Dollar Tree Jute Twine for this. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it around the top. So I'm going to just add a dot of hot glue around that top lip, and then I'm just going to wrap it all the way around. And then trim off the end, and then put a dot of hot glue to secure the end on the back of the bottle. And now just repeat this for your other 2 until all 3 are done. Now I wanted to add a little bit of berries and greenery to accent my jars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of those bundles, and I'm just going to lay it right on top of the wraparound around the top. But I first want to add a little jute twine bow to that bundle. So I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue to the top of there just to secure that little jute twine bow. And then I'm going to glue the entire thing to the top of the jar right along that wraparound where we put the jute twine before. Now here's what one looks like, and now all 3 are done and ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and grab my tray, and I'm just going to add some bunches of pine greenery that I had on hand, and then I'm going to add each one of my jars. Now you can definitely use this stand option that I created earlier in my other DIY to make these different levels, and you can also add some battery votives just to give it a little more accent. It's all up to you. And here they are on display. Now I love this beautiful combination of holiday colors. Now you can add greenery to the bottles as well, but I decided to let the berry bundles be the star of the show in these pieces, and it looks great. Now these would be perfect in just about anywhere in your home where you want a little holiday splash. Now another option is that you could take the tray and flip it over and display these as well this way. So many options. This project is a frosted glass Christmas tree jar. Now you're going to need 1 mason jar of any size of your choice from the Dollar Tree or from Walmart. Now we're going to start with our jar. Go ahead and remove the lid and make sure the outside is really clean. So now I'm going to take a piece of just plain white printer paper, and I am going to sketch out half of a Christmas tree on a folded side of that piece of paper. And I'm just going to go ahead and freehand this, or you can use your cutting machine to come up with a design if you like. So once you actually come up with a nice tree design, you just want to trim it all down and cut it out on that fold. And here's what my tree turned out to look like. I'm going to lay it against the jar just to test to make sure, and it looks like it is a great size. So next I'm just going to take a piece of black cutting machine vinyl, and you can get this at the Dollar Tree in so many colors, and it comes in so handy. Now it doesn't matter what color you use for this project if you want a silhouette design on your jar, but you could use any color you like. So I'm just tracing my tree design onto that vinyl, and I'm just going to cut it out the same way we did as we did on the printer paper. And here is my final tree. So now all we have to do is peel off that backing and place that tree on top. Now for this, you definitely want to make sure you use removable vinyl, because it'll be easier to remove away when you actually paint it. So now that that's applied, I'm going to take it out and give it about 3 to 4 coats of this frosted glass spray paint by Rust-Oleum. And here is the jar after it completely dries after about an hour. Now you can leave your tree on, but I decided to remove mine so I can have that silhouette effect of my tree on my jar, and it came out perfect. Now to decorate my jar, all I'm going to do is grab some additional pine greenery and some berries, and I'm also going to use some wider black and white check ribbon. Now I'm just going to wrap a piece of that black and white check ribbon around the threads of my jar, but I'm first going to hot glue down the end just to make sure it has a nice clean end, and then I'm going to wrap it around those threads and hot glue it right in place. Now once that ribbon is right on place, we can start working on our greenery accents. Now I want to put that on, glue that right onto the ribbon. So first of all, I'm just going to trim down the ends of that greenery, and I'm going to overlap them and then hot glue them into place. Now once those are hot glued together, I am going to take that same ribbon again, and I'm quickly going to tie just a little bow out of that same ribbon just for the center of my greenery. Now here is my little bow, so now I'm just going to add it to the center of my greenery. Just add a dollop of hot glue right in the center and then press that in there and hold for a few seconds. And here is the little greenery bundle, and I'm testing to make sure it's not blocking my design. So now I'm just going to take those two berry bundles and I'm going to put one on each side of my bow, and I'm just going to hot glue those into place as well. So now that that's all put together, what we're going to do is we're going to hot glue that greenery right onto the center front of that ribbon on our jar. We're just going to hold that in place, and there we have it. It's all nice and secured, and your jar is finished. Now to light your jar, there's a few options. You can use Dollar Tree fairy lights, or you can use a battery votives for the lighting of the jar. And here it is, you guys. Now I just love how this turned out. Now I simply added a strand of Dollar Tree fairy lights in my jar, and I just love that soft ambient lighting that it gives off. Now this would be such a fun and easy project to give as a gift, and you can choose any silhouette design that you love. Now I hope that you all give this simple DIY a try. This project is a Christmas wish wood plank design. Now we'll need some of these wood planks from the Dollar Tree or planks of your choice. Now I'm just going to remove 4 of the planks from the package for this project. Now I did want my planks to be colored, so what I'm going to do is stain them, and you have a choice. You can use antique wax or you can use standard stain, but for this project I am going to be using the antique wax. Now when I apply the wax, I'm going to apply a nice thin coat over the entire surface of the plank, and I'm also going to make sure I get the sides as well. Now when you do apply this, you want to follow up with a paper towel to remove all of the excess wax on all of the pieces, and here are all of the pieces with the wax. Now once you allow those to completely dry, we're going to go ahead and grab them and lay them out on a grid mat face down. Now we want to lay these out on a grid mat to make sure they're spaced evenly, about 1.25 inches apart, and then I'm going to tape them down to the mat because when I connect these all together, I want them to hang absolutely even, so I'm using my painter's tape to secure it to the mat. Now to hang these, I will be using this buffalo check gingham ribbon. You can use any kind of ribbon that you like for this, or you could even use chain if you like. And I'm just going to grab a piece that has enough to have a loop at the top, but will go down the side of each one of those planks evenly. Now to adhere it, I'm just going to run a bead of my hot glue along the back of each plank about 1 inch in from the edge, and I'm just going to run it all the way down the side. Then take the side of your ribbon and you want to lay it right on top of that glue, making sure that it's nice and straight. And then we're going to repeat this for the other side and make any adjustments necessary before hot gluing it down into place, just by applying that glue about 1 inch from the edge, just like the other side, and then placing that ribbon in place. Now you can remove it from your mat and flip it over, and now you have your hanging piece for your base of the project. So now what I'm going to do is lay out my mat and grab my piece. So now we are going to decorate it. Now I wanted my sign to say, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." So what I have gone ahead and done is I have actually used my cutting machine to cut out the words, "We wish you a Merry Christmas" on here. But you do not need a cutting machine for this project, because I will include the template of the wording in the description box below. And this file is a PNG, which you can upload to your cutting machine, or you can just actually trace it onto your planks. Now to trace it, all you would have to do is color the back with a pencil as shown here, lay it on top of your plank, trace over the letters, and the letters will transfer to your plank. Once you have that guide, all you have to do is grab some acrylic paint or a paint pen as shown here and go right over your letters, and you will have the same result. So I'm going to start by removing my letters and words from my cutting design, and I put the first plank is going to say "We wish." Now I'm going to be offsetting my letters off to the side because I will be adding a bit embellishments, but feel free to add them wherever you like to your planks. And I'm just going to continue down with all of the letters all the way down so they're all applied. And now that they're all applied, all we have to do now is embellish them. Now I'm using some holly branches that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I also have some mini pine cones from the Dollar Tree as well. So I'm going to start with my holly bushes, and I'm going to apply them on the side of my wording. Now you can apply whatever type of embellishments that you like for your sign. This is what I had on hand for holidays. I thought it would look really pretty, and the colors are really bright and festive. Now for a couple of the planks, I'm taking a sprig of a pine branch and I'm going to glue that up at top, and then I'm going to add some pine cones in a cluster at the bottom. I just thought that was really cute, so I'm adding some pine cones to that cluster. And once that's hot glued into place, I'm going to repeat this on the bottom Christmas sign as well. Now here are all of my embellishments on my sign. Now I did want my branches and my pine cones to have a frosty effect, so I'm taking some white acrylic paint and I am dry brushing on a little bit of that paint on the pine cones and the branch just to make sure it has a nice frosty, snowy look. And once you allow that to dry, all you have to do is to hang your project. Now I did want to add just a little bit more embellishment at the bottom of the stem of my berries. It was bothering me just a little bit. So I'm just going to add a little stem to cover that bare stump of the hollies, and that is it. And there you go. And here it is, you guys. This is such a sweet sign to hang up and welcome your guests. This was so easy to do, and you can add as much or as little embellishment as you like. And you have an option to use your cutting machine or hand tracing with the file that I provide in the description box below. Project is a set of easy holiday vases. Now you're going to need 2 of these round glass vase bowls from the Dollar Tree, 2 candle holders of your choice from the Dollar Tree. You'll need some assorted holiday greenery for the filler, and a couple of bows from the Dollar Tree. So grab your candle holders and grab your bowls, and what we're going to do is we're going to be joining these together. Now I'm going to be using the bottom of these candle holders because it is a larger surface than the top and it'll fit the bowls a lot better. So go ahead and remove all of those peel and stick stickers on there. Now I am going to be using my hot glue for this, so I'm just going to run a bead of hot glue around the bottom and stick it on that candle holder. Now if you do want this to be permanent, definitely use some E6000 along with your hot glue for this project. So once that's adhered, now we're going to put an assortment of greenery. Now I have some berries that I picked up from the Dollar Tree and some miscellaneous pieces of garland and snowy cedar pieces, and just stick those in the bowl and arrange them however you like. And once that's done, we're going to repeat this process for the second one, and now you have a cute set of 2. Now for these, you can add another bow to this. So we had 2 bows left from our project. So I'm just going to twist that tie and get it out of the way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bit of hot glue to the top of one and place a bow at the bottom of each one of those candle holders. How cute. Now once you do this, there's a variety of ways you could jazz it up. You can even add some fairy lights to it, or you can even add some votive lights to this. Then all you have to do is just nestle each one inside of there, and it fits there right in the center. You can turn on those lights and display them. And how easy was that? You get two beautiful decor pieces that are super quick and easy to make. Now these are the perfect final pieces to make a complete display of all of these projects today. Now I really had fun creating these projects today, and I hope that they've inspired you to create your own versions of these. Now as always, I love them all, but let me know in the comments which one was your favorite today. Listen, I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing these creations again, or for some of you for the very first time. I hope that you all are inspired to create your own home decor using the Christmas decor ideas presented in this video. Now, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She So CraftDee logo on your screen, and make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. It doesn't cost a thing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.